I hear from a lot of you that there's things that you want to do in your life, but you're too terrified to move forward on them. Whether it's because you struggle with rejection sensitive dysphoria, or you have a lack of self trust about whether or not you can follow through with something. There's a lot of emotion around this idea of wanting to do something and actually having the courage to follow through with it. So in today's video, I'm going to break down in very practical steps how you can actually go about expanding your nervous system's capacity to do scary things and take action in the direction that you want to go and actually follow through. But if this is your first time here, I just want to pause and say welcome. My name is Karen McGill. I'm an ADHD coach and creator, and I'm here for the busy, ambitious brains who want to do really cool things, but they're terrified until now. So let's get into it. So there's something that you want to do, but it feels scary or weird. You worry about what people might think and how they're going to judge you. All of these things hold you back. Now, I know exactly how this feels because I have lived my life feeling this way, but most of that has changed since I've really come to understand the ADHD brain and how our nervous systems are wired to protect us from moving forward on being the person we want to be and doing the things we want to do because maybe we weren't successful in the past. So let's break this down, starting with what is actually happening in the ADHD brain when there is something you want to do, but you're too paralyzed by fear to take action on it. So the very first step in all of this is getting super clear on what it is you want to do. I've talked about this before, but it's really important that you are emotionally connected to the goals and the dreams that you have for yourself so that you have enough get up and go juice to actually start the thing and finish it. I'll link a video up here where I go through the difference between intrinsic and extrinsic motivation, but basically it has to be something that you want to do for you rather than how it'll make you look or how you'll be perceived by other people. So why don't we workshop this? Grab a piece of paper and a pen and write that vision down. And as you're writing it down, I want you to be aware that your fear is there. And I want you to acknowledge its presence, but I also want you to focus on writing down exactly what it is you want. Don't let your fear try to edit what you're writing down, and it absolutely will. So what we're doing right now is just having the courage to acknowledge what it is that we really want, and more importantly, why we want it. Now, as you're doing this exercise, you're probably going to find that your fear is having a hard time not interrupting the process. So let me give you a little sneak peek into your own brain and help you understand what's happening so that we can work around it. So your fear is coming from the amygdala. This is a small almond-sized nugget in the middle of your limbic brain, and I like to refer to it as the drama queen of the mind. And while you might think that this is something that's working against you, it's actually not. It's part of our prehistoric programming. So back in the day when we were cave people, it kept us safe. This is the area of the brain that would alert us if there was danger. So it kept us safe and alive, and it does the same thing today. If you put your hand on a hot stove and burn it, your amygdala is going to remember never to put your hand on a hot stove again. So for those reasons, it is truly there to protect us. However, we don't need it in the same capacity that we used to need it. And over time, human beings have developed a new part of the brain called the prefrontal cortex. And that is where the majority of our executive functions live. And our executive functions are all of the things that we need to be normal human beings in today's society. It helps us plan and prioritize and know what's important and what's not important, and to regulate our emotions and to decide to do something and then follow through with it. And as we know with ADHD, we have an executive function impairment. So the way we plan and organize and manage our nervous systems is very different than a neurotypical person might do it. And of course, that doesn't mean that ADHDers can't function like normal human beings. We just need to find the right support for our executive function impairments. And what I'm going to share with you is exactly what I'm talking about in terms of specific practices we can use to support that impairment. So coming back to our brains, now that we know that the prefrontal cortex is our smarty pants area and our amygdala is our drama queen fear center, if you will, as we're going through life, whenever we come across something that is perceived to be scary, whether it's something in real life or it's just an idea we think about, immediately all of our brain energy gets sucked up by the amygdala. That means the lights literally go out in the prefrontal cortex, so we can't think or plan or organize or even think rationally. And when the amygdala is popping off because of fear, it sends a message to the hypothalamus that there's a problem, and our hypothalamus then sends a message to our nervous system to freak out. And that is when we go into fight or flight mode, which means we either get paralyzed with fear, we start to procrastinate, or flight mode means that we might decide that we don't want to do something anymore, it's no longer interesting, and we drop it like a hot potato and run away, even if it is something that we truly want, because we're terrified of it and our brain is trying to protect us. So that is why we behave in ways that sometimes even surprises us, and why we ultimately self-sabotage, even when in our heart of hearts, there's something that we want to do. But here's the great news. That system also works in reverse. So the way I just explained it to you is top down. You perceive a fear, your amygdala freaks out, it tells the hypothalamus to tell the nervous system to fight or flight, and all of a sudden you're doing this. However, you can actually pattern interrupt this and reverse it by using a bottom-up approach. And what I mean by that is the more you can calm your nervous system in your body, the more you're going to send messages to your amygdala that you're A-okay and it will calm down. The more it calms down, the more access you're going to have to your prefrontal cortex, where you can plan and prioritize and execute and manage your emotions better so you can do the things you actually want to do in life, right? So instead of trying to manage your brain, which might be really difficult, this way we're focusing on the body and the nervous system to tell the brain to calm down so we can move forward. So you're probably thinking, okay, Karen, that's great, but how do I actually calm my nervous system so I can calm my brain? And there's a lot of different ways that you can approach this, both in the moment when you're feeling riled up, but also as a general practice every day so that you can approach your days feeling calm and not coming from that place of fight or flight all the time. But let's start out with what you can do in the moment when you want to do something, but you're feeling paralyzed by fear and you just can't seem to move forward. The best thing you can do in that moment is to get out of your head by getting into your body. So here's a simple exercise that I want you to try. The first thing I want you to do is slow your breath. And if you're anything like me, you probably forget that you even breathe. So now's a good time to reacquaint yourself with the breathing process. If you can breathe through your nose, great. If you can't, through your mouth is fine. But just start with a couple of longer, slower inhales and exhales and keep that pace up. Now, I want you to put your thumb and pointer finger together and just very gently start to massage your fingers against each other. And I want you to feel the ridges of your fingers. That is going to take your attention away from what you're thinking about, and you're going to immediately come into the sensations in your hands and in the tips of your fingers. Now, as you're doing that, I want you to open your ears and identify the furthest sound you can hear from where you are right now. Maybe it's a leaf blower down the street or someone in the next room. What's the furthest noise you can hear? And once you've identified that, I want you to hear the closest sound to you right now. Maybe that's my voice. Maybe it's the sound of your fingers. What is it? So at this point, I hope you're paying attention to your breath, and you're also feeling the sensations in your fingers, and you're listening to the sounds around you. And you can have your eyes closed for this exercise, or you can look around at whatever catches your eyes. But I don't want you to lose focus on any of the other sensations that you've got going on right now. And just do that for a couple of minutes. Then I want you to check in with how you're feeling. Are you feeling more calm, a little bit more centered or grounded maybe? And if you're feeling more relaxed, what's happening in your head? Have the thoughts slowed down a little bit? Is the fear center maybe a little bit calmer? All we did in that simple exercise was engage your senses. So whenever you're feeling up in your head and up in your feels, try coming into your body. You can do those simple exercises or, pace the room or dance. Do whatever feels natural and appropriate, but get into your body. And I find that the fastest way to do that is through your breath. Your breath is the gateway to feeling more calm and centering your nervous system, which will then, of course, calm your mind. So now that you're enjoying this calmer state of mind, if you ever want to pull yourself back into your previous state, I recommend scrolling Facebook for about 10 minutes, and that will bring your amygdala screaming right back where it was when we started this exercise. And as I mentioned, you can use these skills in the moment when your brain is fired up with fear, but I also recommend having practices in your life that calm your nervous system. For me, that's yoga, meditation, and walking outside every day. For you, it might be prayer or having a bath in Epsom salt, whatever calms your nervous system that you enjoy doing enough that you could do it every day. Make a practice and a ritual around it. Don't force yourself to do things you don't want to do because that won't calm your nervous system. But find the things that you enjoy doing that calm you down that you can create routines around. So now let's come back to that exercise I had you do where you wrote down what it is you truly want. I want you to read to yourself whatever it is you wrote about what you really want. I want you to see how it feels. Does it feel calm and realistic? Or are you starting to feel like you're getting back into your head and you're hearing thoughts that are self-sabotaging? You'll never do this. You'll never fall through. This is not for you. If you are starting to get back into your head, here's what I want you to do. I want you to keep focusing on what it is you want, but I want you to start that deep breathing again. Maybe start rubbing your fingers again. And I just want you to focus on what it is you want while you're breathing deeper and rubbing your fingers together. And immediately you start coming back into your body again. Can you feel that? But you're still focusing on what it is you want, right? What do you think's happening right now? You are actually rewiring your nervous system in this moment. You are expanding your window of tolerance of what's possible before your amygdala starts popping off again, right? So as you're looking at this, I'm not saying that it's immediately going to feel like puppies and rainbows, but it might start feeling a little bit more comfortable in your body. And if you want to take this one step further and you've got paper and pen, I would put a line down the middle of the page. And on one side, I would write down all of the steps that your brain is telling you is going to be too hard or that you'll never follow through. And once you've done that, I want you to re-engage your breath deeper and slower and maybe re-engage your fingers and take a minute to come back into your body. And then the second column, I want you to write down all of the steps you would take if this was going to be easeful. Like, what would it look like for you to approach your goal or your vision from a place of ease? And you're breathing deep and maybe you're still thinking about it, rubbing your fingers together, but I want you to start writing down those steps. And this is probably going to mean that you break the steps down further, or maybe you do things a little bit differently, or maybe it takes you more time to get where you want to go, but you're moving towards it. And once you've done that, you can spend as much time on this as you want. I want you to write down one small step that you can take right now in this moment towards that outcome. It can be as simple as Googling the answer to a question you have in regards to this goal, or taking what you just wrote down and put it into ChatGPT and ask it to make a plan for you. Something easy that's not scary, right? I want you to do that, and I want you to complete it right after this video. Once you've completed that one task, I want you to pause, come back into your body, engage the breath again, maybe engage the fingers again. And I want you to think to yourself, I just took one small action towards my goal, and I'm still alive. I'm safe in my body, and I am not afraid. And even if it's hard, and even if I'm not successful, I now have the nervous system capacity to get started and actually follow through on what it is I want to do. So a couple of final thoughts as we wrap up. Number one, managing your mind is the key to living an authentic life. Because when you show up as you are, who you truly are, and go after what it is you really want, and do that without your amygdala always popping off, then you give yourself the best opportunity to succeed and follow through, because you'll be optimizing your energy in the prefrontal cortex, where your confidence lives and your ability to initiate tasks and actually follow through on that. And number two, we can manage our minds by managing our nervous systems. Remember, it's a bottom-up approach where you're getting into your body and out of your head and managing your state by doing things that calm you down. Breath work is always the easiest and it's going to give you the fastest results, but also incorporate other practices that engage your other senses, or do anything on the regular that calms your nervous system down. And just as a sidebar, this whole conversation reminds me of how game-changing having a regular yoga practice has been for me in my life. I've been practicing for over 25 years now, and I don't do it absolutely every single day, but on the days where I practice, I am always 100% more productive and just grounded and feel better than on the days that I don't practice. So on that note, I'm going to wrap up and leave you with this final question. What is it that you truly want in your life? Write it down and see how it feels in your body. And if it does feel scary and you feel like you could never move forward, start incorporating those very simple practices and focus on what it is you want while expanding your nervous system's capacity to actually get started on the thing and finish it. The more you can work on your nervous system and expand your capacity to try new things or manage your emotions without freaking out, the better off you will be, the further you'll go in life, and the happier you'll be. So I hope that was in some way helpful. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.